Good afternoon. It's 4 o'clock on December 12th, 2023. I'd like to open up the meeting with a roll call attendance. Michelle Keith is present. Emily Michelle,
Emily Michelle Olmsted is present.
present. And then is Dr. Pope present? We have an iPhone here. I'm not sure if that's Dr. Pope.
I got a message today that Dr. Pope unfortunately will not be able to attend.
Okay. So that's fantastic. So we can get started. Our 4 p.m. appointment is a continued issue Northeast Engineers and Consultants Incorporated, David Coelho, Plat 72, Lot 19, 4 Coldbrook Lane. It's a variance from 310 CMR 15.211 and supplemental regulations to Title 5, 310 CMR 1500. Chris, did you want to address this or do you want them to address it?
I think given, this is a matter of tabling and with the directions sought by the applicant at the last meeting and the new plan having to come in, probably best if Sean Leach or his representative is on to have them start first.
Are you here? Is anybody here for the 4 o'clock appointment? We can't go on to the next appointment at 4:05. So what we can do is we can approve the minutes. The minutes of November 14th, 2023. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Yeah, can I ask just a quick question first?
Okay, yeah.
Did it matter that Dr. Pope came in later? I don't think I saw that on the minutes. I wasn't sure if that was worth noting or if I missed it.
I know he wasn't there when we left at the closing. But they should, I don't recall. Was that definitely the meeting that he came into when he left?
That was my recollection. I could be wrong.
Yes. Okay. So what should matter is on those matters that he participated, that his vote is reflected. Okay. But if he didn't participate, then that's what we need to make sure that the minutes contain.
Okay.
Yeah, and to be fair, I don't remember on what he voted or not, but that was really my only question. I didn't have any other questions or issues with the minutes, so I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from Tuesday, November 14th, 2023.
And I'll second that motion. And do you approve the minutes, Emily Michelle?
Yes.
And Michelle Keith approves the minutes, so that's great. That's done. On here it says the next Board of Health meeting is Tuesday, January 9th. Chris, do we need to set anything for February?
We can hold for the January meeting for now. I think,
okay.
Come January, definitely set for probably the remainder of the board's, election year, which would be February, March. And then usually we don't convene in April before the election.
Okay.
But.
Okay.
I think
so that's fantastic.
In January.
So we still have 2 minutes before we can go to the next appointment. We're just going to do another call out. Is there anybody present right now for the 4 o'clock appointment for 4 Coldbrook Lane? Okay.
So I can give an update on the draft regs and old business if you want for the wells.
Yeah, sure.
So the draft well regulations are still in review by town council. We do hope that those regs will be back before the board, but not before the end of this calendar year. Once the regs are clear town council, we do, because they have an impact on agriculture, and we are a town that has an agricultural commission, we will have to notify the Ag Commission of those regs and provide them with a copy of those draft regs. So I'm hoping that happens probably, early February. So just wanted to give the board the update on that you won't be seeing the regs for a vote until the 60 days have passed. So it could actually approach or go after the April election.
Okay, fantastic. As usual, Chris, thank you so much. Appreciate that. So we've got 1 more minute, but that's fantastic. We've got that other business out of the way. And We're waiting for 4:05 to arrive, and we're just gonna do one more call out for that 4 PM appointment on Coldbrook Lane. Is anybody present? Okay, so we do have, 4:05, fantastic. We can move on to the next issue, which is Jacob Roy, Plot 66, Lot 2-87, 18 Hummingbird Lane. It's a proposed addition. Chris, do you want to address it, or do you want them to address it?
I can start out the existing conditions for the board.
Sure, that would be great.
So, this property is located in Songbird Acres off of Reed Road. The property was built in the late 90s with a primary and a reserve area. The system failed a few years ago, and the system was upgraded and replaced mostly in the front yard, kind of where the old system was, which is customary. So with that, we still have the approved reserve area that sits between the house and the side property line. The owner has submitted a plan to this office for consideration to construct an addition that will fall on top of the reserve area and render the approved reserve area unusable. The plan that he has submitted was from a surveyor, and the plan shows a reserve area, but it really is not a reserve area, because a reserve area for the board's consideration to replace one that meets well setbacks should contain the same minimum setbacks to a well, which is our primary focus. Also, it does not contain the minimum testing. So, I just wanted the board to be aware of those existing conditions now before diving into the applicant's request. The only point of confusion with this property is that, and this is why we have requirements when we conduct perk tests, site systems, that the wetland line be valid for when we do it, because wetlands do change. So when we look at the existing wetland in the 90s versus the existing wetland a few years ago, the wetland has migrated into the backyard, and the reserve area that was 100 feet away from the wetland is now within 100 feet of a wetland. So, that does happen. Hydrology changes because of impervious area, redirecting stormwater flow. But the reserve area that is shown and approved is still 100 feet or more from the existing wells. So that's all. If the applicant owner is here, it might be best if he speaks.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hello, Mr. Roy?
Hi,
Jacob
how are
Roy?
you?
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Okay, nice to meet
Yes.
you.
Nice to meet you too. Yeah, so basically, I'm kind of at a standstill right now because we want to build this addition, but like Chris had said, that backup spot. So we were looking at moving it to the test pit number 1, which is more in the front yard. So that's kind of what I was trying to get approval for, so that we can go for the addition and get the building permit.
Emily, Michelle, what do you think?
So I'm still just trying to make sure I understand what possible ways we could go about this, because if as I understand what Chris was saying, if we are concerned that the wetland has migrated, which is possible, we would want to require there to be some sort of new survey or new assessment of the property. Is that right, Chris? In addition to because the test pit only has 1 perk, and so it would need at least 1 more perk. Is that right?
So the reserve area that was shown, it's over a test pit, but that test pit, because of fill and the depth dug, did not go deep enough to document 4 feet of suitable material.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't do a perk test because they, when they were out there a few years ago, they just decided to shift outside of that area. So if we were to consider that reserve area, it would definitely need to get reconfigured Otherwise, the board would actually have to do it as a waiver.
Mhm.
And then no increase in flow because of the setback being less than 100 feet. It is possible that they could investigate using sidewall for a reserve area to kind of shrink it. I'm saying possible, I'm not saying for certain. But, you know, a test pit would have to be done, you know, to make that area even considerable. The one that's there doesn't have a perk and doesn't have 4 feet.
Now, this is what, 78 feet versus 100?
No, I think that's another one on the agenda.
That's another one. Okay, which one is this? How many
Thought
feet is
so.
this one?
Well, it's less than 100 from the well, if they move it to the test pit or to the soil absorption system they're hoping for, right?
Yeah.
So drinking water wells really are one of the, in my opinion, in my experience, one of the biggest concerns to public health, because you don't want bacteria and nutrients getting into a well. And so when you have a soil absorption system that is you know, less than the setback in Title V, then what I would look for would be other things to compensate for that. And so, I mean, I don't, maybe I'm missing it. I don't see that if you were to just move it over there to that location. And again, we don't know, there's so information we're missing about the soils there if it were to move there, right? So let me ask it this way. So I would assume that as a homeowner, your first choice, for cost would be for us to allow the plan as shown, because then that would, preclude you from having to find someone else, probably an engineer, to design a new system. So that, I'm assuming that that's one option as a board that we could go with. Is that right, Chris?
That's correct. It's really, it becomes the board's decision on this. It's not new construction, but we do have a reserve area that is there for future use.
So what
Yeah,
are the dangers if we go with the current plan that is the least expensive plan for the homeowner?
It would require a waiver at a minimum, but it wouldn't be a suitable reserve area, because it would be an arbitrary reserve area, because we do not have the requisite testing, and it would possibly set a pretty significant precedent.
Okay.
We'd be assigning a reserve area without any documentation of suitability.
Okay,
In essence, would
So-
actually be a variance for the board to approve.
sorry, go ahead, I'm sorry.
That would actually trigger a variance for the board to approve, because you would be bypassing deciding the requirements in Title V.
So what's the least expensive avenue for this homeowner? 'Cause what I'm trying to get to is how can we make this work so it's the least expensive but also safe?
Well, if I may, is the next question that if we don't approve this plan as shown with a waiver,
Yeah.
which again, I certainly have my hesitations, would the homeowner then have to go to a professional engineer to design a system and to get further information on that reserve area? Is that correct, Chris? What I would understand would be the next step?
Yeah, the design of a reserve area is pretty simple, because it's, you're not doing layout and grades. You're working off of existing site conditions to assign an area of suitable footprint for the replacement of the system.
And if he does that, that would be
Cost would come
keeping with the precedent?
The other cost would come with the, the soil evaluation and the perk test.
Okay,
But
But
it
Chris,
certainly
if
would
he
be a
does
lot less.
that-
It would be a lot less than someone that is, designing a system full out for new construction or repair.
so if he does that, will that be maintaining precedent?
That would be keeping consistency with the code.
Okay,
To have the homeowner engage with a professional engineer? Yes,
Correct, for
that would
deciding
be,
the
okay.
system. Yeah.
to identify an appropriate reserve system section,
Correct.
okay.
Is
Um,
it, if they do identify an appropriate reserve, because I still have concerns, again, we're about that well that's 100 feet. So if the applicant could also potentially speak with an engineer about how to mitigate for that. Is that correct too?
Chris?
Yeah, so in order, in order for a reserve to really be, appropriate in the eyes of the code with it, it would be, a 100-foot setback, with the siting requirements of a perk test and soil eval. Anything to the contrary is gonna, push the matter back before the board for issuances of either waivers because of proximity to well, or if they didn't do the perks, then you'd be looking at a variance, which I'm not really sure a variance would be appropriate to be issued by the
Right.
board. You'd have to state why you can't do it.
Yep.
So there would be two things we'd be looking for, which is to have an engineer take a look and identify the appropriate reserve area, and then continue with that additional test pit.
Yeah, the test pit would actually be the first step, and then
First,
work with
okay,
the results of that test pit to site with, and then it looks like there's a little bit of area right now to work. It's just a matter of, documenting that the soils are suitable. And then, the engineer working with the design criteria and the code to configure a system that would fit in that area. It could be a sidewall system. Sometimes we end up with different footprints of primaries versus reserves.
Mr. Roy, we
Okay,
try very,
yeah.
very hard to keep things as least expensive as possible for people,
Yeah, I
but we do have
appreciate
to
it.
follow the code. Because then it's
I
not fair to
understand.
others, yeah. So
Yeah,
do you
so
have
that
any
test pit
questions?
Yeah,
Okay,
so
go
that
ahead.
test pit number 1 is not gonna work, right? So basically I have to test for another reserve area that's more than 100 or at least 100 feet from my well.
Chris?
If that's what the board decides, but that's what, to maintain compliance with the code, that's what the code requires. The board does have
Okay.
discretion to issue waivers and variance.
Yeah.
Variance has a higher threshold, and far more discretion on behalf of the board. So,
Okay.
But we always look to Chris, because
that's
Chris has got the
one.
history and the precedence of the department. We're new board members. We don't have, what has been the historical action in these sorts of situations. And in order to be fair to everybody, we really want to honor that.
Okay.
Well, and if I may, one more thing, I would imagine if you engage the services of a professional engineer, that if it turns out that that location is no longer the best spot for it, that you both could come up with something that is amenable to you both, that will, professional engineer, I would think, would take into account everything that is on the property, including that well, to do what is best at the site, given the information that you have. So, if it turns out there is another area that works better and is protective of the drinking well, which again is highest priority in my opinion, that's a plan that I would want to see.
Okay.
So Chris, what are the next steps for Mr. Roy?
well, at this point in time, this isn't an application. It's not an application before the board that would require you to act because of a time. This is just advisory to the applicant owner as to whether the board would consider the proposal that he has or advise him in a different direction. And I believe that has happened.
Okay. Do you have any other questions, Mr. Roy?
So, all right, so this is kind of confusing. So I'll contact my engineer and try to find a different backup spot, correct? For the leaching field?
The reserve system, that area. But
Yeah.
Chris, you said the perk test would, the test pit would have to be
it's
done
always
first?
best to have the engineer contact us.
Okay. Okay,
Because that plan that was prepared, it was prepared by a land surveyor.
Mhm.
There is an engineering division from that company, but
Yeah.
we want, we need to make sure that we're working with a professional engineer who's the designer by the code.
Okay. All right.
And if it helps,
Awesome.
as a board member, again, with any system, wastewater systems that come before us, I recognize that you're trying to do the best that you can, but I would want, whatever you work out with a professional engineer to show that you've done the best that you can to protect drinking water in this case.
Okay.
thank you very much. Good luck.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Have a good one. Bye.
Okay, thanks. So now let's see here. We're moving on. We are 4:10. We're running a little bit behind. It's Joshua Aaron, Sway, 92 Allen's Neck Road, 30 Allen's Neck Road, 444 Bonnie Joyce Road, new piggery application. Chris, do you want to start this, or do you want the applicant Mr. Sway to discuss it?
I can give a brief introduction.
Okay,
So while this is a new application, it's not a new location. The permit is assigned to an individual, and that there is the difference before the board. So we have had piggeries permitted upon this property for a number of years under different operators. We conducted a site inspection yesterday of the operation, as well as animal control having already been to the property for customary purposes for the annual barn book inspections. So with our inspection, it's been very customary to have high expectations, and I wasn't let down. This piggery operation is a pasturing operation, although in the wintertime pasturing largely ceases because of the cold weather and they have to retract the animals to the barns. But it's a high quality piggery operation that really is vastly different than what most people believe of piggeries going back to the 50s and 60s. So, with that being said, I do not have any concerns. However, last year, when the board did approve all of the piggery permits, I did request for the board to consider certain standard conditions to be placed on all of the permits. And I am gonna, make that request again. And I do not see those having an impact on this operation or any of the operations, but it's to provide further clarity to the permit holder of our expectations as to how the animals are fed, because that is one of the first means where nuisances will develop, is when you start feeding what's called sensitive feeds that are highly
Yes.
putrescible. So that's the purpose. And if the board so moves to have those conditions, then they would have to be read in with the motion.
yes.
In
Emily,
entirety.
Michelle, I am, very comfortable with those conditions. What is your viewpoint on them?
Yes, I thought they were very thorough. I
Okay.
definitely appreciate them, Chris. Yeah.
Okay, so, Chris, you need a motion to accept those conditions and then we read them into the record?
Well, if Mr. Sway has anything, it might be appropriate, maybe he has a question about the conditions, so.
Okay,
Uh,
Mr. Sway, do you have
specifically,
anything that you like? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, specifically with the regarding sensitive feeds. Donna sent me over all the rules and regulations. I think I have a fairly firm grasp in terms of what constitutes sensitive feeds, as well as required storage, both on site and not on site, and the maximum amount that can be stored of sensitive feeds. I think I have a pretty firm grasp on that. Going forward, if there's anything else you'd like specifically to stipulate in terms of perhaps vegetable matter, more towards the summer months, obviously that's an issue. I usually store no more than 2 to 3 days worth on site. Prior to that, it's refrigerated. It's coming from UMass Dartmouth. If you'd like to stipulate in the warmer months, maybe that's 1 day to prevent spoilage. And then removal from the pens subsequent to feeding, say within 10 to 12 hours on any day that's above 70 degrees, something of that nature, or you just want to abide by the current rules and stipulations. I'm happy to go with whatever you folks think is best for the community.
That's wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate that. Emily, Michelle, could I have a motion, or could we have a motion to for the
Yeah, just real quick question. The conditions that Chris suggests do not include any sort of time constraints. Is that right, Chris?
We do not. We have them within our regulations as to a 7-day maximum.
Okay. Do you think that our current regulations address Mr. Sway's? It sounded like Mr. Sway was going above and beyond in
Yeah, he
his
is.
question. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So
It's
then
well
I would
inside of
say,
our report.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry, Chris?
then I-
Yeah, he's well within inside our minimum requirements, so I'm comfortable.
okay. Then, yeah, I
If I
would
could,
say,
if I could just say, just briefly, I've been apprenticed to the operator that was issued the permit in the previous years for 3 years now. So I think I have a relatively firm grasp on both day-to-day and long-term operations in terms of both pasturing as well as overwintering. As I understand it, you spoke on having to bring the animals back towards the barn in the winter months. I understand that to be related to the regulation concerning housing when the temperatures dip below freezing. As long as I have that right, and as Chris said, he was at the property the other day, I think I have a firm grasp on everything. As far
It
as
was a
one
very
can,
impressive
certainly.
application. It was a very impressive application. A lot of time and
Thank
effort
you.
went into it.
Yeah.
So,
you want me to give it a
I
go?
can
And
see-
I should
yes.
just briefly note to clear up any confusion, though there are 3 separate properties listed, they all encompass Round the Bend Farm. At least the idea of it. Essentially is 30 and 90, and then what used to be the Everbearing Farm. We all function as one entity, though, for rules mostly to do with the tax code. They are, in some cases, separate entities, but functionally speaking, this is all one farm, approximately 114 acres, not including some of the pasture, which is next to it.
Excellent,
Great.
excellent. So
So
I
then
have them
I
in
would-
front of me. Good.
I
Yeah,
have
Melanie.
I have a suggestion for a motion if you're okay with it.
Okay,
So finding that the application for 92 Allen's Neck, 30 Allen's Neck, 44 Barney's Joy Road in South Dartmouth is thorough, finding that the recent inspection was quite favorable, and finding that the applicant has demonstrated a willingness to go above and beyond our local regulations. I move to approve the piggery application for 92 Allen's Neck Road, 30 Allen's Neck Road, 44 Barney's Joy Road with the following conditions. That no feeding of sensitive food directly upon the soil, that sensitive feed shall only be fed in feeders that are easily cleanable, that any sensitive feed trough, container, or other feeding device must be designed to keep feed off the ground and prevent swine from entering the feeder except with their head and neck, that any sensitive feeder shall be placed upon a durable concrete pad that must surround the feeder by a minimum of 6 feet on all sides. The pad shall be pitched so that rainwater does not collect upon the concrete pad, that no plastics, food containers, or other solid waste shall be deposited within or exist within the piggery enclosure, that fresh water for swine shall be available in design waters or other device that allow for access for drinking and prevent the animal from entering except with its head and neck. Fresh water access shall not include surface water that collects within the pen or ponds, and that the issuance of a piggery permit is upon agreement to access by the Board of Health and their agents, and shall include all areas associated with the piggery, including but not limited to feed storage areas, pig enclosures, barns, manure storage areas, manure composting areas, and areas where manure has been spread upon the land.
okay. I second the motion and I vote yes. Emily Michelle, what's your vote?
Yes,
Awesome, fantastic. Congratulations, Mr. Sway. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are behind. The next appointment was supposed to be at 4:15. It's RKNJ Incorporated doing business as the Best Western Dartmouth, Plat 163, Lot 52-1, 737 State Road. It's the semi-public pool permit application and discussion on pool operator and lifeguard requirements. Chris, do you want to lead with this?
Thank you. So I did provide the board with a report on the inspectional history of the Best Western under the current ownership, going back to 2011. In the summary that I gave to the board, it listed, the significant actions and the significant violations over that time period that have resulted in closures. And for the violations that we have found with water testing, record keeping, doors not working, I find them to be systemic. To me, those are the critical violations that are imminently endangering of health and safety. If records are not on site, I am not to believe that records are somewhere else, especially when we have had a history of this going back to 2011. You know, those records need to be on site, because if they're not on site, then the person that's doing the testing doesn't have an understanding as to the baseline of what was there. It's part of, you know, maintaining the balance of the water chemistry. With pools, that is one of the things that this board will permit that can result in immediate harm and or loss of life if we have a breach of the minimum standards. That is reinforced by some excerpts that I provided to the board from the CDC that referenced summaries from studies in which drowning is the leading cause of death of children. More children ages 1 to 4 die from drowning than any other cause. And drowning happens in seconds and is often silent. Most drownings in children's 1 to 4 happen in swimming pools. So now that we have an application before us with the history of non-compliance, going back to 2011 on doors not working, water testing, I wanted this matter brought to the board for their consideration of the history and of those facts from the CDC. And that's all. But I will say that the board does have the authority to require pool supervision as it sees fit, given the history of non-compliance for both lifeguards and certified pool operators, however they see fit. Thank you.
Are you
Thank you
muted?
so much, Chris. And we have got 2 people here from Best Western. Anybody else?
No, it's just myself, the owner, and my operations manager, Anisul Islam.
Okay, so we have 3 people present. Okay, did you want to address the issues?
Yes, yeah. So I somewhat disagree with some of those comments. Having a lifeguard on duty, you know, it's just not feasible, possible for a hotel. We did just have an inspection prior to, and the violations that were brought up in the previous violations were not brought up then. I'm not disputing the violations. What was brought up was correct. It was all fixable. I think there's a dispute in facts in terms of the logs and where they are. This pool has been outsourced to Ecolab for numerous years. Under their guidance, under their remote monitoring, we canceled that service due to COVID for budgeting reasons. And then along with that, we've had staffing issues, like every business there is. So to say that we're perfect at keeping the logs, no. To say that the pool chemistry was near life safety concerns, I would have to disagree with that. The violations that Chris did bring up have been all rectified right now. Due to us housing the migrants right now and my staff kind of focusing on them and taking care of them first, and with our hotel being in the slow season, we just decided to keep the pool closed for the time being. In terms of the day-to-day operations and pool testing, Anisul, you could probably chime into that a little bit more, correct?
Yes. So hello, everybody. My name is Anisul, the operations manager in charge of that location. And I've actually been working with Chris Michaud, Courtney Pryor, and Donna Faria since, I want to say 2018. And throughout the years, we have had great relationships. We are a seasonal property. We are renting around 20 rooms out of 67 in the wintertime. Very, very low pool usage from November till May. From May, on weekends only, on Fridays and Saturdays, we do have the occupancy boost. And throughout the last few years, due to the cyclical nature of our business and the staff having the staff in the summer, having a smaller staff in the winter, and having a staffing crisis, as everyone knows about, we enlisted Ecolab's help to assist us in monitoring, and we do have those. In the most recent visit, we do admit that a lot of the records were not there, but the previous inspections did pass, for 2023, 2022 and such. So you could review those records as well. And every time that we have had any kind of infraction, we have always committed to resolving it. And Chris and Donna has come, a few times over the years and cleared the pool and cleared our permit. So this time around, we decided, thanks to KJ, we wanted to basically shut down the pool, and we took the Massachusetts bathing code and we went line by line, and we went ahead and addressed all the issues there. I myself have the CPO. I come to the property on a weekly and bi-weekly basis, and our manager, Nobel, has been certified as a CPO as well. So since there's no water right now, we're not doing any record keeping, but up until the time the pool was shut down and Nobel took his class, he did start to take proper records, and I gave him the binder from the class to walk around and have a checklist of what to keep track of to ensure the safety. And lastly, I would like to add, in my tenure with the property, we have not had any incidents with the swimming pool. We are very diligent in making sure that we are observing who's in there. It's adjacent to our front desk, and I've had no health issues or any kind of life safety issues with the swimming pool.
So can I ask
How
a
long
question? So
quick question, how long have you been there, Mr. Islam?
Since 2018.
2018, because we have the full record in front of us. There, Chris, haven't there been some issues since 2018?
That is correct. Just,
Yes.
going back, looking even at 2021, Ecolab said pool needs to be tested daily. 2019, records on file, only to 12/7. 2019, we had issues again, in an email from Courtney about records. And the water chemistry is not about immediate life safety. It's about protection of public health. Because when we don't know what's going on with the sanitizer, we don't know what's going on with the ability to protect the bathers with what's going on in the water. So we're looking at two modes of reason for the regulations. One is protection of safety, one is protection of public health.
Thank you, Chris. Emily, what did you want to say?
I just wanted to clarify to make sure I understand what's going on with the records here, because from what I understand, is that there are missing records, but and I apologize, I forgotten your name, sir, the certified pool operator. You say you have records. Can you present them to us?
Yes, we can definitely submit records to the board. I just want to be clear, there are two sets of records we're speaking of. So due to the staffing, training, staff turnover aspect, we have during this period enlisted Ecolab. So Ecolab has a remote monitoring system, and that lets you know when the pool is low in chlorine and the pH is off range. So those are the Ecolab machine reports.
But in the Ecolab one I see, it says that it still needs to be tested daily, even with remote monitoring.
Yes, absolutely correct. Now, the issue has come about for us is always making sure that the maintenance person or the housekeeping person is writing down the all the records, and that a lot of them due to various training issues and staffing issues that I've had in the past, have not kept good written records.
And Chris, did you mention before in a previous reading that you know of companies that hire or allow a company to hire someone who is both a certified pool operator and a lifeguard, such
I
that,
know
I mean, if
Yeah, I know that in the multifamily, seasonal lodging industry, that there are companies that build themselves out there for being able to come in and provide wraparound services for both, overall pool safety and operations supervision.
right, so if what I understand what you just said correctly is if your staff are having an issue with that, it sounds like there's a possibility of outsourcing it to someone who can do it, if clearly if there's a history of the records not being kept. And then if I may, so I'm looking right now at the October 6, 2023 letter. And there's a number of violations that are beyond just the pH and the pool testing. One of which there's an issue with the door, is there not, Chris?
We had in this year, we've had two issues. In the last 12 months, we've had two issues with the door when we were there for other inspectional reasons. We do issue licenses for this, property for other uses. And on two occasions, I walked up and, the door was not locked.
Which is a concern because of a child could get in and drown, is that correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if I may,
Which that door, as we are, Chris, as you were aware, that electronic door system was upgraded with our new lock system.
Irrespective, it was still an unsecured swimming pool, and it was twice. So, we're always playing, but we corrected. I don't have a facility in town that we've revoked the permit on twice, except for the Best Western. Miss, Anisal, saying that, my staff can't. You are the pool supervisor of record by the application. By the regulations, you are required to be familiar with all aspects of the regulations, which includes the testing and keeping of records on site and training staff. That is a term of the Massachusetts Department of Public Health's minimum standards. We can't, there is no opportunity for us to look any other way except a variance. And the Division of Community Sanitation have told us that they hold a very hard line, and they are apt not to approve variances issued by local boards of health for minimum standards for swimming pools. So, excuses about staff when it comes to health and safety, I'm sorry, but I don't care. We can't put an excuse on protection of health and safety or put money as being an impediment to health and safety.
And we're not insinuating that at all. But to say this is a systematic issue, I would have to disagree. I would ask the board to look at our last formal inspection. These violations did not show up. A month prior to this October inspection, there was a complaint, anonymous complaint made by an ex-employee. There was a surprise health inspection. Nothing was found at that day either.
Like I said previously, we were there on two other occasions, and they were for other reasons, and we found the door to be open to the pool. So, and again, like I said, I have not taken an action to revoke a permit at any other location in town, but I've done it twice here. We've got numerous other records that are systemic about the inability to show that testing is being conducted. Whatever records that you may have anywhere else, I don't care about them at this point, because if you can't show me when I show up and then you're telling me that, well, the staff is not familiar, Anisal, you're responsible for that. You signed the application saying that you were the pool supervisor, and everyone that was at that location, because you're not accessible to Dartmouth on a daily basis, would be familiar. And it is quite clear that that is not the case.
Yes, and I agree. In the last instance, we did run into that issue, but I have gone ahead and ramped up our management team, and I've taught everybody how to do it, and we have very strict current protocols. And my maintenance person, Luciano and Nobel, are thoroughly trained on moving with this further, and I look forward to being able to show, a re-inspection.
I mean, what I can propose to the board is, if it's maybe satisfy them, is to possibly get outside third-party pool company to submit a report on a monthly or quarterly basis as another checks and balances.
A report on the water quality?
Well,
What
just
would
to
you
make sure that
report on?
everything is being done on our end, and they can submit that to the Board of Health.
That you're in compliance with the pool regulations?
Correct. I mean, I'm not sure what else to do at this point.
I mean, can I be heard? Okay, I'm gonna make sure I wasn't muted. Kuntal, is that your last name or your first name?
Yes, it's Kuntal, yeah.
Okay, okay. Something I'm a little concerned about is, you're stating that you haven't had these violations and you don't have a history of it, but what we see before us is a history of violations. And when we look at the report just from the October 6th, when the last inspection was done, you've got no proof of weekly supervision by a certified pool operator. The records required are not available at the facility for each week. Pool supervisor shall ensure that on-site personnel adequately trained in safe, sanitary, effective operation of the pool and equipment. Current written records of all data pertaining to the operation and condition of the pool with daily attendance amounts and types of chemicals used daily, dates and times of emptying and cleaning the pool, etc. Missing screws in all the skimmer covers in the pool deck. Chairlift screws in boats not in good condition. Electrical plug located on the walls of the chemical room, not GFI. Ring buoy does not contain the adequate level of polyurethane rope. DPD test was not being used for measuring the concentration of chlorine. 4 expired DPD test kits. Testing not being conducted a minimum of 4 times a day. Pipes leaking in the mechanical room. Flow meter not working properly. Material safety data sheets missing. Chemical not being properly stored. Wall and filter equipment room in disrepair. Filtration equipment. I mean, it does not look like you can take on this responsibility of running a pool and operating a pool the way that the state of Massachusetts requires. We have got to do what the state of Massachusetts wants us to do. So it's not that Dartmouth is just deciding to make all of these unreasonable rules for pool owners. It's the state of Massachusetts, and it's our mandate to make sure that that's happening. And public safety is very important. We have had a child die from drowning in that area in the history of Dartmouth. This is a very, very serious issue. And, to find out that now we've got a lot of children there and the doors are not being secured several times, it's concerning. And what's more concerning for me is that I don't see you acknowledging the accountability for these violations. Instead, you're just saying, well, it's really not like that. And I don't think that's very responsible.
No,
And
that's
I don't
not
think that
correct.
speaks to you.
So
No, it's not responsible. For you to deny these violations is not responsible.
No, I stated from clear that Chris's violations, we do not disagree with any of them. They're accurate. But what I am saying is that I don't think this has a long history. There's always violations at our hotel. I mean, this hotel is it's the only one of the only industries that does not shut down. It's very hard to run at 100%. So
Well,
to
we're
say that
talking about the pool. No, we're talking about the pool. And where does the record begin? Emily, can you see where the record begins? I think it was going back to
2012.
2014, 2012. So since
I
2012,
could be
there is
wrong
a
about
history.
that. I thought that's out of memory. But yeah, I completely right. I mean, we're talking, it's 9 to 11 years, somewhere in there. Yeah, the history is there, and hearing the statement that it's getting fixed now is not at all comforting. I don't necessarily believe it.
And we would like nothing more than for everything to be being done the way it's supposed to. That makes our life easier. We would love to see that.
Madam
You
Chair?
know, I'm sure that Chris and Donna and the Board of Health staff have a lot of things that they have to keep track of. And believe me, I think that they'd be overjoyed if when they went in and they did the inspection, everything was fine. That would be wonderful. This is not something that, we all want to happen. So, I mean, personally, I don't think that you've proven that you're going to take it seriously and that, people are going to be protected there.
Madam Chair? If I could?
Yes? Yeah, go ahead.
So, that is a great segue for what, I'm going to say. And, my role is to report on the facts, but, I have to lean in the direction of, I don't have any comfort that this is going to be a change in direction. What I hear is what they think we want to hear. And what I mean by that is the excuses about the records as being the example. 105 CMR 435.21 paragraph 5. The operator shall maintain a current written record of all data pertaining to the operation and condition of the pool and shall keep it available for inspection by the Board of Health at all times. Period. There's no off-site records. That is a minimum requirement. Next, the record shall include daily attendance, amounts and types of chemicals used, results of chemicals and bacteriological tests, dates and times, and emptying and cleaning of the pool, and backwashing of the filters, and I could go on reading with the additional requirements. So how is Ecolab remotely monitoring how many people are in the pool? How is Ecolab monitoring all of those other parameters? And even if they were, those records are not available on site at all times. And Anisal, as the pool supervisor of the license from 18 through 23, you have a regulatory responsibility to be familiar with that regulation that I read from and all the other regulations. So, with that said, unfortunately, nothing has been said to me to make me think that we're going to not encounter this again when there's a change in staff or whatever. Thank you.
Well, yeah, well, that's when I appreciate it, but and that's why I mentioned, would you feel comfortable if we outsource the pool as a secondary management to oversee the operations of the pool?
Aside from day-to-day outsourcing, I would not be comfortable in something at this point in time being anything other than day-to-day.
Which, Chris, could be done if as a board, we felt inclined to require that the semi-public pool have either or both a pool supervisor, a lifeguard, and or a certified pool operator.
The board could require a certified pool operator to be on staff at all times that the pool is open.
Okay.
The board could.
Yeah, but that does not address the lifeguard issue. And one of the things that they said at the very beginning is that they don't want to have a lifeguard. They don't intend to hire a lifeguard.
The board could require a lifeguard to be on duty at all times.
Because a lifeguard can also be a CPO, can it?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Now,
The
just to
CPO is
clarify,
not going to maintain safety except for the
Now-
chemicals. Go ahead.
No, so my other question was, is the board and Chris's concerns due to us having the migrants where the necessity for the lifeguard is kind of enlightened a little bit more due to us having families?
More children. There's more children. In the summertime, there are more children right now than you normally would have in the winter.
That's correct. You are correct. Okay.
I mean,
It's-
all it
it's-
takes
it's
is one
the
child
children.
drowning.
Yeah,
No, 100%. No argument here. We agree. With what Anisal did state is that our pool usage is very sporadic. We are open to maybe having a lifeguard, maybe just during our peak times, on that Friday and Saturday or during the usage hours, or possibly maybe even changing the pool hours and reducing it where there's a lifeguard on duty. especially will during while the migrants are housed, because as of right now, we have no official end date.
Chris, what are the issues with the pool hours and the lifeguard? Are there any like issues that you've experienced through the years with any of the pool operations?
Could you repeat that again? It broke, it was a little bit.
The issues of a lifeguard and specific hours. Does that run into any sort of difficulties? I mean, like what has been the custom
Yeah,
when it comes to?
Yeah, it becomes difficult because, you know, how do we know what peak hours are? Drownings can happen at any time. So, it's like saying, I'm gonna wear my seatbelt when, the roads are the busiest.
So, can they have hours and then can they have strict, it's locked down and the other hours when the lifeguard's not present?
That is a possibility.
Well, it sounds like you just fixed the door, did you not? Because that was, the door not working is a huge concern. So
The door has been fixed.
okay.
Yeah, so and Chris is correct. I don't want to make it seem like, we're not acknowledging anything. So Chris is correct. When Chris came to do, I believe just another inspection, I believe maybe it was the breakfast, the door that we had was 100% malfunctioning. And so our pool was shut down during that time. And I believe it was maybe early summer. And then we upgraded the whole mechanical system for that door. And then the last visit when Chris came, I believe there was an error between the emergency button and the motion sensor was not calibrated correctly. And so unfortunately, it should have been caught by us, but it wasn't. It was caught by Chris, and then that was rectified.
And it's
So-
lucky that
so
nothing
Chris-
happened.
Does a certified pool operator have to be on the property at all times?
If that is the board's wish.
But is that the standard for the town?
In the past,
that what-
we had voted it at this location in 2014, if my memory is correct.
Okay, so there should be but a certified pool operator can be many different types of people
Board
who
also,
have had the training.
the board also required it at Allendale Country Club.
Yes,
When we had a very similar issue arise in a year, the board required it in the following years.
Were there
So if
favorable results from requiring that, Chris?
With lack of testing, lack of records, they required on-site CPO.
And after the board required it, were the violations no longer? Were they in compliance after?
For water chemistry, yes.
Okay,
We didn't have any
So-
didn't have any issues with access at that site.
okay.
For safety.
is it possible to require a certified pool operator be on site at all times? But then when the pool is actually opened, the doors are unlocked, that there is a lifeguard on duty?
That is within the board's ability. To
And
require.
that if there's not a lifeguard on duty, the doors have to be locked?
I would just ask for a point of clarification on locked as in meaning closed to the public.
No access, the pool is closed. If there's no lifeguard, the pool is closed
That's within the board's ability.
to adults and children.
That's within the
Just
board's
to see how we could proceed, can we get a better record going?
And
Emily, Michelle, what are your thoughts?
Chris, am I understanding that it is based on the history of violations with this site and, the fact that, there was access issues, recently and historically, that is your opinion, Chris, professionally, that we are at the point of needing a lifeguard, is that correct?
That is why I brought the matter to the board.
Okay. It is not, it's more than just the door that is concerning for the safety of children, is that right, Chris? Or is the door the main reason that it was, that the
So you'll also
drowning?
see in some of the other, you know, it just becomes the overall package of violations going back to
Right.
2011. I believe there were 2 occasions in which the emergency phone was not working.
Mhm.
You know,
That's
and
a good
that
point.
is, you know, when the phone is there for a reason,
Mhm.
and it's still in the regs for a reason. So if it's not working, you know, one of the immediate ways to get, help is to pick up that phone and hit 911. Because once that 911 is hit, it's going straight to the police. And the police are dispatching even if someone can't talk because they're too busy attending. If it was a hang up, police, fire, and EMS are en route.
And pool permits come before us on an annual basis. So if we as a board decided that we wanted either a certified pool operator on site every day and or a lifeguard, then it would be most logical to do that with the 1 year permit from 2024 to 2025. Is that correct? Or are there different
Well,
timeframes?
Yeah, or should we be doing 3 months, Chris, and then revisiting? Or monthly and revisiting, I mean,
I don't believe that the board can do it for longer than a year.
Okay,
Because, you know, it would run with the permit. So,
Yep.
I don't think you could do it for more than 1 year. So you could do it for the application period. To do it for 3 months, what I would have to advise the board to is that you would run the risk of it expiring and then just going back to, you would actually have to make, if you can't get it within that time frame for a reconsideration, then you should have a fallback as to what the expectations would be after 90 days in the interim until such time that the board would be able to readdress it.
do you think this is something that would need more monitoring, Chris? How frequently do you think this should be monitored?
Well, the regulations specify the monitoring for overall facility conditions. So that is non-waivable, but the
Mhm.
problem has been that the pool supervisor, the pool operator doesn't have appropriate pool supervision in his absence to meet the minimum requirements. So, after going around with this too many times, going back to 2011, with this, there was a brief interruption of ownership, I think around 2007 or 8, where there was a different owner. Something is not working. It did work for that period of time when the board required a CPO, but that was
Mhm.
just on the chemistry. But, more concerning is the overall disinterest in upholding the minimum standards. Having seen those 2 safety violations this year, looking back, and then looking at the totality of it all, that's why I present the 2 issues to the board: certified pool operator and or lifeguard. It can be a single credentialed person, or, it can be someone that holds 1 credential, another person that holds another, for consideration to hopefully address this issue.
And what I'm concerned about and what I'm trying to figure out is what type of conditions can we put on this, Chris? Because to just approve it for the entire year without any sort of proof of effort, and meeting of the standards. I mean, I suppose you just pull the permit again? Is that what would happen?
You can do it for a year, and then if
Okay,
they can always come back and appeal for a reconsideration to the board in the future, and it would be up to the chair whether or not they want to put it on a subsequent agenda within the licensing period.
so we could approve something for a year, and then if they weren't following things, you would just pull the permit again?
If there was immediate health and safety, that would
Okay.
be appropriate action.
So we really wouldn't need to be doing some sort of on the conditions of, because if you went in there, you could be inspecting it at any point in time that you want, and that when you went in there, if there were violations, that would be pretty much the end of it.
Correct. Yeah, if they have operational hours where they're saying this is when a lifeguard is on duty, that would
Uh-huh.
come to reasonable access, which would allow, us access in.
And so as I try and kind of think about the motion that I'm in favor of before I propose it,
Mhm.
they need a certified pool operator. It's just a question of requiring the certified pool operator to be on site at all times, right? That's point number one, right, Chris?
Yep.
And then point number two is whether or not to require a lifeguard for any time that the pool is open. Is that correct wording?
Correct.
Open to the public, yeah.
Open to the public, is that better wording?
Open to the
Yeah.
guests, because this is a semi-public pool, so
Okay, so open to the
Open
what?
guests.
open to the guests.
Guests,
You know,
okay.
The pool is open for use.
Open for use for the guests, or just open for use? How should we word this, Chris?
Pool is open for use.
Okay,
Okay. All right, I mean, I know, I think I personally believe I've heard enough, to be able to try and make a motion at this time.
Yep, I'm right there with you.
I did have a follow-up question, if you don't mind.
Okay, go ahead, Quintel.
So on that, the lifeguard, can that be a dual role where one person can be both?
Yeah,
That is my
I'm pretty sure,
understanding,
Chris,
yes.
yeah.
And now, does that lifeguard physically need to be in the pool, or can it be a staff member trained on the premises?
And
Chris, I think
there's
they-
a regulation that states what the lifeguard has to be, right?
Chris, doesn't the lifeguard have to be in the pool, in the pool area?
It would be kind of pointless if the lifeguard was not in the area, because drownings don't, drownings happen very quickly. So you can turn your back for, a very,
2 seconds.
Yeah,
Yep.
and you're in trouble.
But-
If we prove to the board in a year that there's no further violations and we keep our record keeping intact and in order, is there possibility for then the 2024 we can have it asked to be revoked and just go back to our normal pool operations without the lifeguard? The CPO, I mean, I feel like that's I agree with this, having the CPO on site. It's the lifeguard after the first year, we prove it to the board, of course. Is that something it will be entertained?
So.
I mean, it's hard to know, we don't know who's gonna be on the board then, but, oh, sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, no, thank you. I was just gonna say, you just gotta be careful about binding future boards,
Yeah, we can't,
And what I would
but I mean-
say is that, we would be bringing this back before the board, next year in 2025.
But the reason I'm considering this, to be such a serious issue is that we have years where it's working and then years where it's not. So if it's on and off, that's concerning as a board member. And that's why, to me, today I'm considering this as such a possibility to go that next step for a lifeguard and a CPO.
As a permanent standard or rules and regulations, or just for the
For this
first year?
situation, for this
For this
situation.
particular permit, for this particular year, for
Okay.
this application.
2024.
Okay.
So then, Chris, one more administrative question, if I may. We are not approving their permit for 2024. We are just, are we making an advisement that says in order for us as a board to favorably look upon a 2024 application, that we, if we as a board lean this way, require a CPO and a lifeguard, right? That their permit is not in front of us. It's just that it's going to be soon.
It would be a condition upon their permit. They have applied for the permit.
Got
so
it. It would be a
just-
condition. Okay.
Correct. If the board makes a motion and moves in the majority.
Okay, so then so then we would move to place the condition on their approval.
Correct. And then we would,
Okay.
administer it once, we were given the appropriate credentials, then we would process the permit for approval internally.
Okay. Do you, Chris, do you recommend that be part of the condition that the applicant provide the proof of credentials? Do you want that to be part of the motion, do you think?
It wouldn't hurt. It's
Okay.
Specifics are always better than guessing.
Got it. Okay. Is there anything we haven't covered? Besides the motion?
Um, is there anybody else that would like to speak on the matter? Is there anything else that needs to be said? Okay, Emily, do you want to put forth a motion? Okay,
Sure. So finding that there is a history going back to at least 2012 of non-compliance, and that the most recent inspection dated October 6, 2023 revealed multiple safety concerns with the pool. I move to require the Best Western at lot 163 lot 52-1 that the semi-public pool application only be approved on the condition that a certified pool operator is on site at all times, and that there is a certified lifeguard on site at the pool whenever the pool is open for use, and that the applicant provide proof of credentials to the Board of Health agents.
I second that. I vote yes. Emily Michelle, you vote?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Good luck. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. And let's
Thank
see,
you.
we'll move on to the next item, which thank you so much for waiting so long. Let's see here. We've got 420 appointment, and it's for Field Engineering Incorporated, Silas Costa, Plat 24, Lot 73-1, Rocco Dundee Road, waiver to Dartmouth Supplemental Regulations 15.211, reduction in setback from SAS to bordering vegetated wetland. This is the one from 100 to 78
Mhm.
feet. Okay, is there anybody here for this matter?
Hi, good evening, afternoon
Are
still,
you
I
Mr.
guess.
Costa? Are you Mr. Costa?
No, Andrew Stackpole from Field Engineering.
Okay, thank
Yes.
you.
Yes, I can present, I don't know if you have the file in front of you. I'll share my screen
We
so you
do.
can see a few things. Should come in here. This is the site. I'm circling where the proposed dwelling is. There's a little history on this site. This is really a repair. There was a previous building here with a system years ago. And we're proposing to place pretty much the same location. You can see the wetland boundaries. We're pretty much wedged in between a wetland that's to the northwest of the site and another wetland which is southeast of the site. And you can see we're squeezing this right between the two open areas where we tried to get 100 feet out. We just couldn't. So we stuck it as minimal as close as we could to going for minimal waiver. We are proposing to put a Presby system in, which we feel gives you the best treatment, best effluent standard out for a minimum impact in the area. I don't know if you are familiar with Presby systems, but they have a great system. I'm going to show. Can everybody see this?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the effluent that comes out of Presby systems, and Chris can chime in. I'm sure he has some experience in it also, but the effluent from a Presby system is far superior to standard pipe and stone systems and some other systems. So we really wanted to design a system that would minimize the impacts because we're closer to the wetland area. Go back to this. So we have and Chris, I know this is this hearing is for the waiver request. I just did want to add a little bit did you want to add a little bit on the history of the site or the memo we provided for the previous existing system?
I have provided a brief summary of the history of the lot because it is a existing system repair in the eyes of the code. It is not new construction because of the long-term records showing that a structure was upon this lot prior to 1995. So I did brief the board on that. So if they have any questions, I'm sure one of us can answer, but thank you.
Okay. So yeah, so where,
Question.
yeah, go ahead.
You want me to jump in now? Okay, so Chris, you noted that the designer, you have the Presby system, but you're not asking for a reduction of groundwater, so is that correct? There's
No, we're
no
not-
reduction to groundwater.
Right, no, yeah, no reduction of groundwater. We're just asking for the distance off waiver from the wetland.
And Chris, that's a local regulation, that 100-foot setback to a wetland, yes?
That is correct.
And the intention of that local regulation is to, further protect the homeowner and public safety and breakout? Is that your understanding of what the intent of the local regulation is?
It's a long-standing regulation that predates my time here, but having been part of discussions over the nearly 3 decades, it is my belief that it was put in place before my time because of Dartmouth's dependence upon groundwater resources for both public and private drinking water supplies. And so that we wouldn't end up with this hodgepodge nature of like zoning districts. It is something across the entirety of the town. And probably also you can make an argument, because we are a coastal town and, having bathing beaches and shellfishing waters, that, again, it provides a protection of the environment in those areas.
I think I interrupted by
Andrew,
what you were saying. I
Yeah.
apologize for that.
no problem, no problem. That's pretty much where we are. So we're designing it proper elevation, proper groundwater clearance, meeting all the standards. It's just really the setback from the wetland buffer.
Did you put the transmittal number of the DEP approval letter for the Presby remedial use on here and I missed it? That's one thing I would like to see, just in my experience with IAs, having the approval. I understand if you don't want to submit the whole letter because they can get kind of long, but if the transmittal is on here and I missed it, let me know. I didn't see it.
So note numbers, let me zoom in here a little bit. Because Ariel was very careful and thorough in catching a lot of this stuff, but so we note number 16 states the construction shall meet, the remedial use certification, and puts the date and modification date. So we can, I know that, I guess we can, I don't know if you want to add it as an attachment. Is that what you're saying?
No, if you call out in 16, what that, because all the approval letters have transmittal numbers. If you just add it in there, I mean, you have most of the other details. It's just
Okay. All right. Yeah, we can add the transmittal number. Sure.
Thank you.
So Chris,
Yes.
do you feel that they've done the best that they can with this particular lot?
I'm not sure what else they can do.
Yeah.
Okay, okay,
Talented
just
lot.
double checking.
And interestingly enough, this site had undergone a design, but it was never submitted to this office in the late 90s. And
Okay.
I've seen a copy of that design by a now closed engineer, Kenneth Ferrer Engineering. So they had intentions, and something must have happened that delayed the project. Some 25 years.
Okay,
Chris, sometimes
Emily, did you?
just one more question. Chris, do you sometimes in the past you've recommended that we make a deed restriction, right? Is that the case for this one too? Deed restrict the number of bedrooms?
Yes. It's nice to have a deed restriction because it does put a notice in the chain of title for subsequent owners, but the absence of a deed restriction doesn't bind us. But in this case here, where this lot is so encumbered by wetlands, it would be a good idea to have it. We always require it on certain remedial use applications and with reductions to wells and groundwater. But it would be a good idea to have a notice in the chain of title.
Okay, and so that would be a condition on the approval in the motion, that it be approved, again, assuming that we as a board approve it, that we approve it on the condition that that there be a notice of restriction on the deed for, how many bedrooms is it?
No increase in flow?
No increase in flow, okay. All right, I think I'm set as far as making a motion.
Okay, go ahead.
So finding that, plot, 24 lot 73-1 Rockadundy, is installing a system approved for, secondary treatment, or treatment with disposal and treatment. And that, given the restrictive conditions of the wetlands at this site, I move to approve the plan as shown, with the condition that it be recorded in the deed that there is no increase in flow.
I
And,
second that.
excuse
And
me,
I,
oh no,
ahead.
I'm sorry, I just realized
ahead,
the
go
second
ahead,
part.
go
I
ahead.
apologize. And that the
Go ahead.
applicant, or that the designer include in the transmittal number in the most logical place in the plan, which I forget where it is now.
Note
I
16.
second that.
Thank you.
Yes,
And then,
I
uh,
second that.
okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was
What were
just
you
gonna
gonna say, hon?
comment, as far as the waiver, after you pass the motion, I didn't know if you would have to approve the waiver request separately or,
It's part of what we just approved the plan as it
Okay,
stands. So
okay.
does that not cover
So,
it?
oh, we're about to vote. We haven't done it yet.
yeah, yeah.
So I second that motion and I vote yes. Emily Michelle, what is your vote?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, now that's passed. So Chris, is there anything else that we need to do on this?
We have one more piggery.
Yes,
So-
no, on this particular case, on
This is
Rockadundy
it.
Road.
You've approved the
Okay,
application.
you're all done. This is great. Fantastic. Great job.
Thanks for your
Okay, so now
patience.
we've got the piggery and then we got to go back to Mr. Leach because Mr. Leach came in. He was originally at the beginning at 4
Oh,
p.m.
good. Thank you.
So we've got the piggery. Take care now.
Good
Have a
night.
Take care. So we got Copacut Farms and the piggery renewal. Is there somebody here from there?
Yep, this is Vince Brary, owner.
Thank you for your patience. Thank you for waiting so long.
Oh,
Sorry
no,
it took
it's
so
been
long.
very interesting. I think I'll keep my job, though.
I hear you. Chris, did you want to discuss it or do you want Copacut Farms, Vincent Frary to discuss it? How do you want to proceed?
I can just give a brief rundown.
Okay.
And, if I miss anything,
Okay.
feel free. So I did the inspection out there, and this operation here, unlike the last one that we discussed, where they do maintain a small number of winter animals, there are no animals, swine on site at this time. That's a customary operation, but our permit deals with the maximum number of swine that they can keep in a year. This operation is a longstanding piggery with this board, and it really is. It's an amazing operation. I did the inspection even though there were no animals. I didn't see any concerns. So the only thing is just to remain consistent with all of our approvals. I would recommend to the board the standard conditions on this permit that were provided on the last permit.
So do we
So
have to
once I read-
reread them or can we reference that?
You would need to do, unless we did a batch approval for all of the piggery.
We have to reread them.
We have to
Okay.
reread them, sorry.
Okay.
That's all right.
Well, I love it when we have applications and operations that meet all of the guidelines. Thank you very much.
And likewise, we consider ourselves fortunate
Thank you.
to be operating in Dartmouth with a reasonable board and a good set of folks. So thank you, too.
Good, good. Thank you so much. So, Emily Michelle, did you have any questions?
No, I don't think so. If
Okay.
Chris says there's a favorable inspection, then,
Okay.
you know,
And Mr.
Okay.
Frary, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
No, thank you.
Okay, so did you want to make a motion, Emily Michelle?
sure. So finding the favorable inspection, recent inspection of Copacut Farms at 11 Copacut Road in Dartmouth. I move to approve the application for the piggery permit with the following conditions. There we go.
Here we go.
No feeding of sensitive feed directly upon the soil. Sensitive feed shall only be fed in feeders that are easily cleanable. Any sensitive feed trough, container, or other feeding device must be of design to keep feed off the ground and prevent swine from entering the feeder except with their head and neck. Any sensitive feeder shall be placed upon a durable concrete pad that must surround the feeder by a minimum of 6 feet on all sides. The pad shall be pitched so that rainwater does not collect upon the concrete pad. No plastics, food containers, or other solid waste shall be deposited within or exist within a piggery enclosure. Now, fresh water for swine shall be available in designed waters or other device that allow for access for drinking and prevent the animal from entering except with its head and neck. Freshwater access shall not include surface water that collects within the pen or ponds, and that issuance of the piggery permit is upon agreement to access by the Board of Health and their agents and shall include all areas associated with piggery, including but not limited to feed storage areas, pig enclosures, barns, manure storage areas, manure composting areas, and areas where manure has been spread upon the land.
Okay, so I second that motion and I vote yes. Emily Michelle, what's your vote?
Yes.
Awesome, fantastic. So thank you so much. It's thank you for
Thank
your
you.
patience. Take care.
Thank you.
So now
Bye.
we move to the 4 o'clock appointment with Mr. Leach for continuation of the Northeast Engineers and Consultants, David Coelho, Plat 72, Lot 19, 4 Colebrook Lane. Variance from 310 CMR 15.211 and supplemental regulations to Title 5, 310 CMR 15. Hello, Mr. Leach.
Good afternoon or evening. I don't recommend
Yes.
anybody travel on 195 in the afternoon.
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. People
That's-
are really.
So I
I'm
apologize
so
for being,
sorry.
I apologize for being late here, and I thank Ariel for calling and confirming that. So thank her very much. So I will share the
Fantastic.
screen. I will share my screen right now.
Okay.
So this is, I know we've all seen this one, I think a couple of times
Yes.
here, and you can see the screen?
Yes, we can. Perfect.
Okay. So this is, I came to you about a month ago with a couple of options on what to do with this particular septic repair. And we had decided, or I think you had indicated that this was a preferable option, both engineering and function wise. This is a Elgin in-drain field attached to an existing septic tank, which is basically sited as far as possible from the abutting well. We are abandoning our own well and tying into a water line. There's an existing stub that's here. This field is full size. We are asking basically for a variance from 92, 91 feet from the abutting well to the edge of the leaching field. We are also asking, we have a 16-foot separation from the leaching field to the wetlands line that was flagged by the Dartmouth Conservation. I think we've seen this before, and this is, I guess, what we call maximum feasible compliance with the regulation. We're trying to fit a system on what is a very small lot, and I've shown the 100-foot radius previously. There is not much we can do here to site this leaching field. So I believe this is what the board wished as the best solution for this problem. We are installing a 40 mil PVC barrier system on the downhill side in accordance with Title V and the policies for such a barrier. We are 1 foot below into the impervious area and at the same height as the existing top of the existing leaching fields. So the things we are asking for are basically a waiver request from the distance of private well, a sieve analysis in lieu of a percolation test, and a waiver from the wetlands from 100 feet to approximately 16 feet.
And if I may, the poly barrier is there because the water is flowing toward that wetland, and so the intention of the poly barrier is to get vertical transport as opposed to just horizontal to increase the treatment. Is that right?
Correct, because most of this area is there's about 2 to 4 feet of fill in this particular area. That's all has to be removed and placed with sand, and to accommodate the grading and the requirement to not grade into the wetlands essentially and try to get as much separation as possible, we're putting the poly barrier on that side to facilitate, infiltration as opposed to migration.
Great. How much cover do you have over the, what is it, Elton, right?
Yeah, so there's a minimum 1 foot and we are proposing about a little over a 1 foot of cover, and it actually varies from 1 foot to 1.5 foot
Okay.
on from the uphill side of here, 78 down to the downhill side there.
Okay, great. I think with the Elgin systems, you with more than 18 inches of cover, you got to watch out for venting. But it sounds like there's not the need for that right now.
No, I don't believe so.
Great. Yeah, I think given the circumstance, you know, and since you did come before us and you presented another option and asked, you know, I as far as I can tell, this is the next best thing.
Yes. Chris, did you have anything to add?
I do not.
Okay. Okay. Emily Michelle, do you want to make a motion?
Yes, one more question. What do you, Chris?
Okay.
No increase in flow again?
So because of the
condition?
remedial use with this, that would be, even if you don't condition it, it's a requirement of the approval, so we'd be
Okay.
good to lock in.
We're okay, so not necessary. It's a little overkill.
Right, because it's already stated in the approval, so that'll come into customary conditions of approval.
Got it. Okay. So, finding that the applicant has mitigated the distance to the wetland with a poly barrier and you know is including secondary treatment. I move to approve the plan as shown for Plat 72, Lot 19 for Coldbrook Lane.
I second and vote yes. Emily Michelle, what's your vote?
Yes.
Fantastic. Mr. Leach,
Thank you very
congratulations.
much. Sorry for my lateness.
Take care. Take care. Thank you for sticking with it and getting here. Take care.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Chris, is there anything else?
That is all.
Okay, fantastic. Everybody have a wonderful holiday and a happy new year.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you,
too.
you too.
Take care.
Wait, do we need to move to close it?
Yes,
Oh,
you
I'm
do.
sorry. God. Yes, we do. Okay. I moved to adjourn the meeting at 5:32 p.m.
Second.
Okay, I vote yes. Michelle Keith votes yes. Emily Michelle
Emily
votes
Michelle Olmsted votes
yes.
yes.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. Appreciate
problem.
it. Take care.